Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall, Psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast. I hope wherever you are in this amazing planet of ours, you're having an absolutely fantastic week. It's just the start of winter here and on the Gold Coast, and we don't like winter here, so we're all rugged up and sort of saying it's really cold, but it's probably not as cold as it is in other parts of the world. But anyway, that's my little whinge for a Tuesday night show. So this week we're going to focus on the Simply Tarot card of the week, which is one of my favourite cards, which is the Ten of Pentacles. Now, I don't know anybody that doesn't particularly like this card. It's called Money Contentment, and we can all do with a little bit more money. It doesn't matter how much you've got. You always want a bit more, I think. And it's the card of also of potentially signing a monetary agreement. Now, I know at the moment there's lots of people I've been dealing with around the world that seem to be signing new contracts or new agreements, particularly connected with their work. And some of them haven't necessarily been as easy to understand or has been as fortuitous as what they'd like. And they've had to go back to the negotiation table. So if you get this card in a reading and you're about to sign a new contract, or you're looking to sign a monetary agreement, even if it's for a loan or something like that, this is a really, really positive card to get, because it informs us that things are going to be fine, things are going to be good. And it's sort of, sharing with us that, we're in a good place financially. And I think for a lot of people, it's taken a long time to get back there after COVID. There were so many things thrust upon us so quickly that we all had to make adjustments and change things very, very quickly. And now we're just finally sort of starting to come out the other side and starting to sort of look at getting our finances back under control again. So that's a really, really positive card for anybody that's looking to sign an agreement this next week. So we're going to move into the astrology section of the show. Now, the astrology section is always about where I try and help you understand where the planets are aligned for this week, how they're affecting us and how they're going to affect us moving forward. I don't do the breakdown of the 12 signs, but what I will say to you at a particular time in the report, if it's particularly just geared for a certain section of the astrology family, I will share that with you. If it's not, then it means it goes right across the board for the 12 signs. So we're going to start with the Sun in Gemini. So the Sun is currently sitting in Gemini. So this is going to affect each and every one of us, not just Geminis. It's a time to get out and explore your own local environment. Get out, have some fun, go for a barbecue, go for a picnic, go to the local museum or the local attraction. It's time to get out and explore what's happening in your own local environment and reacquaint yourself with that. I think sometimes we get too busy that we don't realise all the amazing things that are happening right on our doorstep because we are just too busy dealing with life and sort of, moving on from one project to the next project. So this next section is going to be particularly connected to Tauruses, Virgo, Capricorn, and the opposite sign of Scorpio. Now, at the moment, we have what's known as the North Node. Now, the North Node is showing us the way forward of where we need to be aspiring to. So the North Node is conjunct or holding hands of Jupiter, the planet of expansion, opportunity, and luck. So this particularly means for the Earth signs and Scorpio signs, it's a time when you can really strive to reach for the stars. It's a time when new opportunities could cross your path rather suddenly. It's a time to sort of really look at your own personal finances. And if there's new opportunities or new jobs coming your way or new contracts, this is the time to make sure that they're negotiated to the best of your ability that are going to be financially beneficial for you. It's also a time to make sure to be careful not to become too extravagant. Sometimes I think we can have an overinflated ego of what we think we're truly worth. If somebody's made you an offer and it's reasonable, yes, then okay, if you think that you're worth a little bit more, that's fine. But don't go overboard. Don't be ridiculous, because you may just end up losing the opportunity by becoming too overconfident, too cocky, and saying I'm worth more than what I truly am. So just be a little bit wary of that. But it is a good time for negotiations. It's a good time for new opportunities and things to really expand in your world. If you've been looking to start some new projects and you come under one of those signs, now is the perfect time for that. They also have Mercury, the planet of communication, is conjunct or holding hands in Taurus. Now, this is not just going to affect Taurians or Virgos, Capricorns or Scorpios. This is going to affect each and every one of us, all the 12 star signs. At the moment, we need to be very aware that communication needs to be very clear. It needs to be very definite. There's not a time for dilly-dallying or embellishing the truth. It's cold, hard facts. And make sure that you get your facts straight, particularly if you're dealing with financial matters. If you're dealing with contracts or negotiations, make sure that you read the fine print. Make sure that you fully understand what's being explained to you or being sold to you in the contract or presented to you. Make sure that you understand it before you sign it. And also make sure that it's exactly what you want. It's the time to speak up. Don't think, oh, well, I'll sign it now and go back and renegotiate in 2 months' time. That's not how things work. You need to make sure that you fully understand everything that you're signing. This can also be a great time if you've had to put aside a conversation that you've needed to have because it's been a little bit tricky or it hasn't been the right time. Now the opportunity could present itself in a way that you hadn't seen coming. And it's not necessarily conversations are always difficult conversations. These are sometimes conversations that we haven't been ready to have yet, or the timing wasn't right, or we were waiting for a particular event to happen and then we'd bring it up. It's a really positive time for communication right across the board because people do have their listening ears on. They are open to new ideas and suggestions. And sometimes by presenting it in a completely different way or a slightly different way to what it's been presented before, gives the other person or the people that are listening to the pitch a different perspective on it because all of a sudden you've said something that they go, aha, that's what they meant by that, where they didn't actually see it or understand it that way before. So sometimes going back and having an opportunity to present something for the second or third time, we can do it with much more clarity or what seems to be much more clarity, the people that are listening to the pitch or the idea or the conversation. So conversations are really clear at the moment. People do have their listening ears on. It's the time to sort of negotiate things or to have those conversations that you've been putting off for a while. It's a time for, if you've got children that you've got to sit down and have a serious conversation with them about their education or their behaviour. Now's the perfect time for that too. I don't say that they'll always listen to you, but at least they'll be a little bit more receptive than what they would normally. We also have Neptune, the planet of illusion and delusion, the ruling planet of Pisces, is in its final couple of degrees of being in Pisces. So this means that the creative energies are starting to ramp back up again. And that's a good thing for anybody that's in a creative industry and they might have felt a little bit stuck recently. They're going to find now that creativity is going to start to flow again and they're going to start to feel as if they've got their mojo back again. And that's nice to know. And also, too, in the creative industries, we're seeing more around the world now of concerts opening up again, events, party planning, all those sort of things. Things are starting to get back to normal now that the pandemic is officially over. And we're starting to see people out and about more and enjoying the weather, and particularly in the Northern Hemisphere as you're going into your warmer months, getting out barbecuing and having, gatherings in the park and outdoor events. It's a marvellous time of the year. So it's good to see that creative things are starting to sort of ramp up again, and it's a positive thing. The other thing that you need to be aware of here with the last few degrees of Neptune in Pisces is we need to make sure that we're not deceiving ourselves with outcomes that we might be projecting or hoping for in certain situations. It's the time that you make sure that you take the rose-coloured glasses off. If you've got a tricky or a difficult situation that you're working through, make sure that you look at what's the worst possible outcome and then work back. If you do it that way, then you're not going to be surprised or upset or taken by surprise if something doesn't quite work out the way that you anticipated it. If you've anticipated the worst and everything is so much better than that, then you're going to be pleasantly surprised at how well the outcome has been or how well prepared you were for the potential different choices or the ways that this could pan out, that you've got all the bases covered. And I think that's really important. We also have Saturn, the planet of discipline and restriction, but I call it the planet of stickability, is also just entered Pisces. So this is giving Pisceans the opportunity particularly to really sort of focus and harness their dreams at the moment. It's a time where that they can really sort of look at what it is they're hoping to achieve in the next 12 months. How are they going to go about it? Will they be able to sort of manifest their dreams in the way that they thought? Now, when we're talking about the Pisces energy here, we're also talking about Cancer and we're also talking about Scorpio. And the opposite sign to Pisces is Virgo. So all of those 4 signs are the most affected by this. But I also look at Saturn, as it goes through a sign, also overflows to the rest of the 11 zodiac signs as well. It'll be a little bit less intense for the remaining signs, but it still is also a way that we can start to focus and make sure that we're right on cue for the dreams and the aspirations that we're trying to bring in, that maybe we need to look at it in a more creative way. If we've been having trouble trying to get a situation across the line or to get a project off the ground, or we've been struggling with something, maybe we need to find a more creative approach. Go away, think about it, and come back with a fresh set of eyes, and then you might just see the solutions that have been right under your nose all the way through. And sometimes it's just that we get so fixated on this is the only way we can resolve the situation or the only way we can move forward, we forget to come back and have a fresh look at it to see from maybe a different perspective if there's a different solution that may be there. We have Pluto, the planet of transformation, is still just dipping his toe in Aquarius at the moment. Now, this is really interesting because, as I've mentioned on previous shows, there really isn't a lot written about how Pluto is going to work as he moves through Aquarius, and he'll be there for 20 plus years. So we're starting to see the early taste of what Pluto could be about. Now, Pluto is the planet of transformation. Pluto also rules the underworld, anything that's hidden, anything that's not necessarily above board. Sometimes, underworld stuff might seem as if they have a world of their own, and they have a hierarchy and, consequences for things that if you do things wrong, just the same as the rest of us do in the normal part of the world. But with Pluto here, it's more hidden. It sort of sometimes can be a little bit darker. It can be sometimes a negative energy. I don't always look at Pluto as being a negative energy. I look at Pluto as being the ability to transform something, to take something that's ugly, dirty, hidden, horrible, and bring it out into the sunshine and give it a fresh coat of paint, to give it something that really feels much brighter than what it would otherwise. So with Pluto moving through Aquarius, I know just moments before I came on the show that there was talk about, that there'd been some drone attacks in Russia. I just wondered whether or not that might be a Pluto and Aquarius sort of effect, that, that things are going to happen by surprise, things that they think that they've got sort of sorted because the leader of Russia seems to think that he's won the war over Ukraine, and nothing could be further from the truth. Just because the rest of the world hasn't stepped in and created World War III doesn't mean that they aren't supporting Ukraine and its freedoms and things like that. So I feel that, this could be a taste of what is to come, to sort of, a bully getting a taste of his own medicine. Wouldn't it be wonderful if something as simple as this, as, a few drones flying into Moscow could symbolize the end of the war and people could get back to rebuilding their lives? I know that might be a little bit of a stretch, but it's just something that sort of came into my mind as I was doing the astrology report for the show and I was listening to the world news, that sort of to me had a real Plutonian feel. And the Aquarian energy is, think outside the square, do something different, take your enemy by surprise. You've got to find new and innovative solutions, different ways of dealing with a problem. Well, drones in warfare is a relatively new piece of armory that we didn't have probably even 10 years ago. So it is thinking outside the square. It is looking at things in a different way, maybe. Let's hope, fingers crossed, that we see an end to that turmoil and those poor people can get back to rebuilding their lives and regathering their families and, just really being able to sort of have some peace in their lives again. Finally, we're going to talk about Venus in Cancer. So for anybody that's looking for love at the moment, it doesn't matter what your star sign is, can I suggest that you go searching for love in places that make you feel secure, places that make give you that warm, snuggly, cuddly feel like you're at home, places that you enjoy going to, not necessarily places that make your skin crawl or make you feel uncomfortable or you feel frightened to be there. So, places that make you feel secure might be joining a group of people that are like-minded souls where it's, it's like walking into a comfortable environment. It could be going to the movies, going to a restaurant, going to something that brings you pleasure. So it's not necessarily a time to go and strike and do something that's completely way out of whack that's going to make you feel uncomfortable. You need to feel emotionally secure, and then you'll present your best face, and so will the other person, and hopefully then Cupid's arrows will fly. So we're going to talk with Beth in Hinstown in Louisiana. Are you there, Beth?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, Beth?
Yeah, I do. I was just wondering about my relationship status. Where is it going? Right now we're separated. Are we going to be able to work this out? I'm hoping so. And I'm starting a new job in a few days without any transportation. I'm wondering, am I going to succeed in this? Am I going to find a way for transportation, or what's going to go on?
Okay, let's look at the job situation first. Look, I feel quite comfortable with the job situation. I think it's going to end up fitting like a glove. It's sort of, I know that there's been so much turmoil and change in your life recently, Beth, and it's sort of, no wonder you're questioning, even decision making, like taking another job. Is this the right fit for me? Is it the right thing moving forward? Am I going to be happy there? All those sort of things, that's very, very understandable. But I actually do feel the job is a good fit, and I feel that you're going to enjoy going to work. You're going to make some nice friends there. And I feel the job itself over time will have room for advancement and, promotion as time goes by. Now, looking at the marriage situation, it's really sort of strange, Beth, because every time I try and tune into your husband, even though you didn't give me his name, it's okay.
It's a woman. It's a woman. It's a woman.
Oh, it's a woman. Okay. Yep. I always call them all the husband. Whether it's male or female, it's just it's that energy that is presented to me.
Uh-huh.
So would it be fair to say then she is the stronger one in the relationship, the one that sort of wants to be the boss?
I would, yeah, I think so. Yes, I would have to say so.
Yeah, because that was the energy that I was being presented with, was sort of like a real forceful sort of, and I associated it with a male energy. I don't know that they've been particularly honest with you. That's what I'm going to say. It's sort of like I feel as if you've only been given about 40% of the actual information that you should have been given, at the reasons why that they were so unhappy, or the reasons why they felt that, the two of you should have this temporary separation. In the course of the marriage, were they always open with you? Was communication easy, to flow with, tricky situations, or has it always been tricky?
I think it's always been tricky because of her family.
Right. Okay. What I'm picking up is I'm going to say to you, I know she still loves you. I know she still believes in, the relationship, the institution of marriage, all that sort of stuff. That makes sense to me when you said about her family, because there's people going natter, 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 natter in her ears, sort of trying to tell her that this is wrong, or this is not what she really wants, or this is not how it should be. And that makes sense. But the thing is, she's got to stand up and say, well, hang on a minute, this is my life, this is my choice, this is what I want, and this is what makes me happy. Instead of trying to fit into a mold of what everybody else wants. And yet normally I would describe her as being very strong, and being, standing up for her rights. But in this instance, she doesn't seem to be comfortable in doing that. I'm going to also say I think she's questioning whether or not this is the right path for her. It's difficult for me to try and understand the emotions when I'm heterosexual. So please bear with me. If I get it wrong, it's not intentional. But what I'm getting is she's questioning her sexuality at the same time. Is that something that had been discussed during the marriage?
No, she's never questioned her sexuality that I'm aware of. She's always been a lesbian.
Okay, but this could be because the family is putting so much pressure on her that's, she's looking at it and thinking, well, maybe I've missed something.
They've always, yeah, from what I can gather from me, just at a like standoff, just gathering information and paying attention over the past 2 years, it seems like that's what's been going on. Like they want control over her, and I don't think that they act like they're comfortable with her sexuality, but I don't believe that they truly are.
No, I don't think they are, because they keep bringing up things like, well, where did we go wrong? Or did we not give you enough XYZs to play with? Or did we not put you into the right sport? Or do you know what I mean? Stupid little digs that to me just show ignorance. So I hope that's helped you, Beth. It's always a tricky situation when you've got other people sort of interfering in a relationship, to be able to sort of, clearly see what is your way forward. So it's interesting that, it doesn't matter what type of relationship you're in, that everybody else is an expert on your relationship, even though they're not in it. So that sometimes can be a tricky situation that we all need to sort of try and maneuver. And at the moment, with conversations coming up that are tricky like that, I go back to sort of, Mercury being in Taurus. It is the time when we're going to get some breakthroughs with those sort of conversations. So we've got Tina and Herbert in North Carolina. Are you there, Tina?
Yes, I am.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, please, Tina?
I guess just, do you see or feel anything or around me? I lost a significant other about a year and a half ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Tina. That's always a difficult time when you lose somebody that you love so much. It's not something that I can say that there's a magical timeline that all of a sudden you're cured or you're over it, or I don't think you ever get over losing somebody. They always have a special place in your heart. But the first thing that I was picking up around you, Tina, is endings, change and transformation. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean when I say endings that there's going to be more deaths or things like that in your family. I think it's going to be more sort of endings that you're bringing about, things that you're ready to make changes with. It's like you're ready to sort of open the door now to some brand new things in your life, and that's a good thing. It's like I'm opening the door, I can see the sunlight coming in, but it's time for me to sort of pull it that little bit wider open, not just a little crack, so that we can see where things are going. Have you been contemplating either making changes to where you're living or a move of residence, Tina?
Oh, major. Yes, I just moved halfway across the country.
Good. Well, I felt that that's a good thing, because to me it was sort of like this was opening up that's that doorway thing I come back to, where we've only got the door a little bit open and we can see the sunlight coming in. I want you to yank that door right open and let the world come in, because I feel that there's new opportunities coming for you, and that's a good thing. So with this move, has this taken you closer to some people that, like family members that you weren't close to, or, weren't able to see as often before? Because to me, I feel like a real sense of belonging with you.
Yes, I have reconnected very well with several lost family members. That's amazing you say that.
Yeah, because it was just sort of like I could feel everybody sort of like gathering you and wanting to give you a hug and say welcome home. That's why I questioned whether or not you got grown closer to family. Tina, you may not be ready for what I'm about to say, but I'm going to share it with you anyway. I actually see new love.
You what?
New love coming your way.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Huh.
And as I said, you may not feel that you're ready for this yet, but I do feel before the end of this year, you're going to meet somebody that is really going to turn your head, and it's somebody that I think over time you're going to grow to really respect and love and, be happy to move forward into a relationship with. And that's always difficult after you've lost someone, Tina, to say when is the right time, that people don't look at you and say, well, it's way too soon. I don't believe there's any magical timeline for that, Tina. When love springs in front of you again, you've got that opportunity. Grab it with both hands. If it's right, it's right. There shouldn't be any sort of so-called timeline for how long is acceptable. You'll never stop loving your late husband. That person will always be with you in some form or another, but I'm sure he would want you to move on. I'm sure he would want you to be happy, and I'm sure he's the one that's been pushing you to make all these changes in your life. He just wants to see you smile again, and I think it's really good. But, there's many, many new opportunities coming, Tina. Have you started a new job since you moved there?
No, I'm retired. No, I live 8 miles from the ocean, so we we go to the ocean a lot. And
but there's something here with money. There's something here with money, or an opportunity to bring in some extra money. That's why I labeled it as a job.
I wrote a book about my love story with my significant other. Yeah, we were together over 20 years, and I wrote a book about it.
Oh, good. Well, that's maybe where the money's coming from. But I just sort of felt money wasn't going to be an issue. The whole of your life is just blossoming. No wonder they kept showing me the sunlight and showing me, throw the door wide open. If you're only that close to the beach, of course you're going to be spending plenty of time in the sunshine and the fresh air, and that's wonderful. But, your whole life, I think, Tina, is just about to blossom again, and it's nice to see somebody coming into your life that, you're willing to share your life with again. I mean, there's no rule that says you have to get married, but you can certainly share your life with somebody in a fashion that suits you. And, I have lots of clients that they both still live in their separate abodes, but, they're as close as or even closer than some married couples. It's what works for you two as a couple. But I can see, lots of laughter, lots of fun. But I still come back to, I don't know that it's the book. I keep seeing something else that you're going to do that's sort of like a hobby or something that gives you pleasure, and you're going to turn it into a little business, something that's going to bring in an income. Oh, is that what it is? Okay, well,
from the military myself, and I make quilts for veterans, and I give it to them. It helps with my PTSD, and I give it to them. I don't charge them; I give them to them.
Yeah, but somebody's going to offer to pay you to do something, and you've got to say yes, because otherwise they're going to be insulted. Okay. Anyway, Tina, that's where we're going to have to leave it, sweetie. You have a great life. That's really nice to talk with Tina and everybody that we get to talk with on the show. So this week I want to leave you with a song that is very, very special to me. This week we lost Tina Turner. She was one of the most amazing icons, and if you've ever had a chance to watch the Tina Turner documentary that she brought out in the 90s about what love's got to do with it, it's a very worthwhile watch. I watched it a number of times on video, and I'm going to watch it again very shortly. So I want to leave you with my favourite Tina Turner song, which is Simply the Best. Here in Australia, Tina was part of a big advertising campaign for our National Rugby League, which is our national game. Like you guys play gridiron, we play rugby league over here in the late 80s and the early 90s. And what Tina did for the sport here was she got everybody back out to watch the game. Women started to watch it, took the families, the kids, and it used to be the most amazing electric atmosphere. I used to take my children to them, and to go to a game and they'd put that Tina Turner song on and everybody would stand up in the grandstand and they'd all be singing. It became our unofficial national anthem for the rugby league here in Australia. And everybody here, I can assure you, has been playing Tina songs for the last week. So I'm going to leave you with my favourite, Simply the Best. Until next week, bye for now.